Now, a perfume bottle that was used in the Salisbury poisonings had enough nerve agent in it to kill thousands of people. The public inquiry into the death of Dawn Sturgis, who put military-grade Novichok on her skin thinking it was perfume, started today. 4 months before the incident, 2 Russian men, posing as tourists, used the weapon to target the double agent Sergei Scribal, who collapsed on a bench outside Salisbury Cathedral alongside his daughter Yulia in March 2018. Let's now say welcome to Fiona Hamilton, chief reporter at the Times. Hello, Fiona.
Hi there, John.
Fiona, tell me, welcome. What were your big takeaways from the hearing?
Well, obviously, a lot of what we've heard today is already in the public domain because this is several years old, this attack, and there's been a lot of recriminations, diplomats sent away from the UK, and other government responses. I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways was actually the sheer lack of protection around Sergei Scribal at the time of the attack in March 2018. So he was a former Russian intelligence officer. He had passed material to MI6 and he had been jailed in Russia and then, of course, settled in Salisbury as a result of a prisoner swap.
Yes.
But we've heard today that he declined an offer for CCTV at his home. He believed he was safe. Even though he'd been branded a traitor by Putin, he didn't have even rudimentary security measures such as living in a gated community or having a home alarm. And in fact, he lived in Salisbury under his own name and an address which were on the open electoral roll. So whilst this inquiry is going to consider the responsibility of the Russian state and the circumstances of the attack, it's also looking into what and if could have been prevented. And I think that will turn out to be quite important as well.
So tell me, Fiona, is there such a thing as a standard level and form of protection for an important defector? I know they don't come along every day, but does such a thing exist?
Well, I wish I could talk to you about that, but unfortunately, a lot of that is going to be in closed hearings. So whilst we've been told a little bit today about what Sergei Scribal was offered, so we know he was offered CCTV, and he was given the option of it was thrown out there that he could change his name, but he said he was never giving any suggestion that that should seriously be considered. That's about the extent of probably what we're going to hear in public. The inquiry is having public hearings for a few months, but actually many of the substantive issues, including this one, will be heard in closed session.
Yes.
Because of concerns about security, about the intelligence relationship and things that were known about Russia, and of course about other dissidents.
So maybe we can only speculate, Fiona, but what is the inquiry, do you think, hoping to learn about from the sad death of Dawn Sturgis, the civilian who was caught up in this?
Well, obviously, the preventability issue is something that is really key to her family and to her partner, Charlie Rowley, who survived, fell very sick, but did survive. So those issues of whether collateral damage to the public could have been avoided by better protection of Sergei Scribal is one issue. There's also issues about the public cleanup, the massive efforts that were taken in the aftermath of the attack to find any remaining Novichok. Was that enough? I mean, the public were never told the potential that it might have been disguised in a container such as a perfume box, and should they have been? So it's those sorts of questions that are going to be asked.
And we heard, didn't we, from the head of MI5 just the other day about the threat of hostile states conducting operations on the soil of this country. This, I guess, will kind of mesh with that, won't it? Although the idea of getting the 2 Russian agents brought to justice is obviously zero and less than zero. They were practically mocking about their role in this, weren't they, at the time?
Yes, that's right. I mean, they did an interview with Russian state television in which they said they were in Salisbury because it had a beautiful historic centre, and famously they said they wanted to see the spire of the cathedral, which obviously completely beg a belief, really.
Yeah, I mean, so look, how much more is there to come? I mean, as you say, I suppose, Fiona, the critical bits, the most sensitive bits will be taking place out of our sight behind closed doors. But give us a sense of the wider span of this inquiry. What sort of ground will they be covering by the time it's over?
Well, we're going to be hearing from the victims of the attack. So we'll be hearing from Dawn Sturgis's family. We'll be hearing from Charlie Rowley himself. We'll be hearing from all the emergency responders and how the searches for Novichok were carried out. Also, the medical response and what was known. And interestingly, it was only hinted at today, but the secrecy surrounding this attack, there seemed to have been some concern in public health agencies that their response was hampered because they didn't know exactly what they were dealing with. So I think all of that will be particularly interesting.
I imagine the people at the head of MI5 will be giving evidence, so they, no doubt behind closed doors, he'll be able to be much franker than he was in his more public warnings the other day.
Yes, well, we're not able to, we just don't know who's going to be giving evidence behind closed doors, but you would have to imagine that people from the intelligence services would be high on that list. And as you say, his warning last week was particularly pertinent. He didn't just talk about hostile states who were wanting to plan attacks here. He specifically said that there was increasing aggression from the GRU intelligence agency, which is the Russian intelligence agency believed to have carried out this attack.
And increasing, I suppose, Fiona, being the operative word, that sort of activity has been mounting and mounting.
Yes, that's right. So in the wake of the Salisbury attack, dozens of diplomats were expelled from the UK and were actually amounting to hundreds across Europe. And Vladimir Putin and the senior leadership of the Kremlin were obviously more preoccupied with the invasion of Ukraine and other domestic issues. However, McCallum was suggesting last week that perhaps there was a renewed focus on attacks in the West and aggression in the West.
What should we expect at the end of all of this, Fiona? Lastly, are we talking about a publicly published report, though maybe with large parts of it redacted, blocked out?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get a public report from Lord Hughes of Ombersley, who is the Supreme Court judge who is overseeing the hearings.
All right, Fiona Hamilton, chief reporter at The Times. Thank you so much for that, Fiona.
A particularly shocking feature of Dawn Sturgis's death is that she unwittingly applied the poison to her own skin. She was entirely unaware of the mortal danger she faced because the highly toxic liquid had been concealed, carefully and deliberately concealed, inside a perfume bottle. Moreover, the evidence will suggest that this bottle, which we shall hear contained enough poison to kill thousands of people, must earlier have been left somewhere in a public place, creating the obvious risk that someone would find it and take it home. You may conclude, sir, that those who discarded the bottle in this way acted with a grotesque disregard for human life.
It happened to have been registered on one or other CCTV system in the city centre.
Exactly, sir. I believe Putin makes all important decisions himself. I therefore think he must at least have given permission for the attack on Yulia and me. Any GRU commander taking a decision like this without Putin's permission would have been severely punished.
All right, 2:15, please, promptly.